I'm going to show you how to make a braided loop. A braided loop is something you put on the end of a fly line that doesn't have a loop, like this. Most fly lines these days has a loop on the end. They have a welded loop tucked back there, very nice and neat, but sometimes you cut them off because they're damaged or they break off, or you buy a line that doesn't have a loop and you want a loop. So on the end of this you can put a butt section, or you can put on a braided loop. You can buy pre-made braided loops like this that are ready to go and ready to attach, or you can make them. And that's the object of this film, just show you how to make a braided loop. And to do so, you start with some braided monofilament. Hollow stuff, very easy to find, most fly shops have it, and a wide-eyed needle with a large size eye. The first thing you're going to do is to thread the eye of the needle with a braid. Don't cut these frayed pieces off. These frayed pieces are actually a benefit to you because they are loose, and it means you can squish them into a kind of a more manageable end. Squish them so they're elongated and align them up with the eye of the needle and kind of just push them in. And you'll find that some of them will go through. Once you've got some through, you basically kind of manhandle and wrestle the rest of them through. Basically what you're trying to do is thread the eye of the needle. There they come. The bigger the eye of the needle, the easier this is, of course, but if it's too big an eye of needle, you're going to have problems later on. So finding the right size needle is important. Once you've got the end thread like that, now you fold the needle back down along the braid and insert the point of the needle into the braid and fold it, and you're going to slide the needle through the center of the braid, kind of not out the other side but just through the center. There, see how the needle is in the middle of the braid, and you're basically going to push the braid over the needle, and you want to slide down a good inch, working its way down the needle like that, maybe 1.25 inches or so. Then the needle comes out, and now we're going to come up to this end and slide everything off the eye of the needle at this end. And what you'll find here is two things. First of all, this sticking out at 90 degrees here is very hard to go through the needle eye, so you kind of fold that back on itself, and I like to roll, kind of twist and spin and roll. And if you do that spinning, rolling move, you'll find it much easier to get the tag end through. And you just roll your needle through and you roll the braid off the eye of the needle. And at this stage you want to be careful, because this can come out with a flourish and a rush out here, and that loop you've carefully made disappears and is gone. So at this stage I like to take a pair of scissors or a pen or something in there, just for safety, keep them in there, slide that off. See how quickly that disappeared? That would have gone if I hadn't got my scissors there. Slide the needle off, come back to the needle and the loop, and I just twist it a little bit to get the loop the size I want. Smooth the loop back on itself. It's a little bit small, maybe make it a touch bigger, roll it around. And then you come back to these tag ends. You don't want those tag ends, they're nasty and unsightly and get in the way of things. So you're just going to pull them tight, cut them as flush as you can get here, and then you brush over those tag ends, and those tag ends will disappear itself. So that's your loop formed. You've got the right size, everything's neat and tidy. Now the last thing is to seal the loop, and you do that with a drop of super glue. So you take yourself a drop of super glue, and you put a single drop. You want to use these liquid super glues, not these gels. So a single drop like that, and that capillary action just sucks that into the braid. I stick it roughly in the middle of where I've made my folded over loop. That's going to take 10, 12, 15 seconds to dry. And whilst that's drying, I want to find where the doubled end stops, which is here. And I want to come back about 2 inches from where that doubled end is. 2, 3 inches, more is better, it doesn't matter because you can always chop it back, 2.5, 3 inches. You chop that off, and that is your own homemade braided loop. That's how you do it.
RIO. Make the connection.